Everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to go through Twitter, see what people are chatting and talking about, what they're sharing, and obviously I'm going to put my opinions on top of either their question or opinions. It's going to be related to wealth building, commodities, and/or financial topics. It'll probably be related to wealth building in this one more so than the others. But I'm going to really put my experience and my opinions in this one, as it deals a lot with my journey and my path of reaching what I would consider to be somewhat financially resilient, is what I'll call it. And I'll tell you how I did it and stuff I should have done differently. And I'll answer whatever these guys have up here as well, for me personally, and what I've seen with other people. So let's dive in here. Let's see what I'm about to share. If you want to follow me, it's finding_finance and finding-value.com. If you want to join our community, you can use the discount coupon code called LEAP, LEAP. If you'd like to follow me or ask me questions and how I'm playing this commodity bull market that we are in, and that is about to come in a big way, in my opinion. So let's dive in here. Let's see what we got. It says someone should write How I Got Rich, a book of interviews, possibly anonymous, with people who have got rich in a wide range of fields. Would be fascinating and valuable read, particularly for young people considering which path to take in life. Um, I'm going to give a big opinion here. Well, Dave Ramsey already did that, and what he did is he asked a bunch of millionaires how they became rich, and undoubtedly it was all kind of the same process. The process was pay down your debt, get out of debt, get some savings in an emergency fund, and then basically fire away at your home, pay it off as quickly as possible, and then save as much money and invest as much as you can after you go through that. Now, that was in an era of very high interest rates. So when people are millionaires and they're all in their 50s and 60s and they're looking backwards, they grew up in a very high interest rate environment. So that is basically the ingredient for success with higher interest rates, is pay it down as quickly as possible and get rid of it. What I did, but technically I'm a multi-millionaire. So if I were to do that, what I would do is I would lock in my costs as low as possible, is which I've done at a 2.75% interest rate. Since the inflation rate is greater than 2.75%, I am not going to pay my mortgage off any faster than what I have to. The inflation is going to eat away the purchasing power of the money at a faster rate than my mortgage rate. So the name of the game isn't necessarily to pay down your mortgage rate as fast as possible if you have a low interest rate. The name of the game is to become as resilient as possible. Resiliency is, what does your cash flows look like in relationship to your expenses? And if you can lock in your expenses as low as you can for as long as you can in a highly inflationary environment, you win. So that is what I'm doing. And the way that I made my money, and don't get me right, don't get me wrong or right, however you want to say it here, guys, is I could have made it way faster if I adopted certain things. But I didn't know those things when I was younger. So if you want to get wealthy faster, or you want to get rich faster, however you want to say it, you need a mentor. You need someone to reach out, to talk to, and say, look, how do you get to X and how do you get to Y? I mean, the fastest way to get there is to increase your income as much as possible. So you really want to increase your income and then net the difference between your expenses and your income. Basically, you're maximizing your cash flow. That's how you do it. If you want to be richer faster, you need more income and you need to really control your expenses and costs. You want to maximize that difference if you want to be very, very, very wealthy. If you want to be a billionaire, and you want to do it quickly, you're going to have to get a big income, reduce your expenses, and then you're going to have to bet big on something and win big. So that is what I would say. And here's a couple of other things. I'll come in here. Here's some more things that I would do if you really want to try to make it. Here's some skill sets. You need to be able to sell like heck. You need to be able to sell. You need to be able to sell yourself. You need to be able to sell a product if you have a product. You need to be able to market yourself. If you have really good skills and you're going to go get a job somewhere, the selling skill set that you have, the being able to sell yourself is going to net you a lot of money. It's going to net you a lot of money. So if I could go back into time, and one of the traits that I would work on is speaking in front of people when I was younger and being able to sell, whether it's selling products or selling yourself. And that's where there's a ton of value, where you could dramatically increase your pay based off of an interview that you have with someone else with very little experience. If you can sell yourself, other people will be convinced that you're worth it. So I think being able to sell yourself will easily net you probably hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars over the life of one's working career. Because you can, one, sell the ideas that you have, which then people look at differently, like, oh man, this guy's really getting it done. Or this girl, who, whatever. You can sell yourself during an interview. You can sell yourself on whatever it is. And if you're selling yourself, you're getting what you want for the most part. And that is an incredibly valuable skill set to have. And a lot of people don't have it. So if you want to make a lot of money, you have to solve big problems that people don't want to deal with. That's really what it is. Solving problems that people don't want to deal with. Or solving problems that have great economic outcome. That's another one. We'll keep going here. That one. It says, would you rather live off of $100,000 in passive income or $200,000 in a 9 to 5 income? It's on what you want out of your life. You don't have to have 100K in passive income and live just off of this. It's more about, how can I say this? A lot of people have these ultimatums, like, or these choices, like, would you rather do A or would you rather do B? Why can't you do both? You could have 100K in passive income and work a $200,000 job, and I think that they're interconnected to some degree. Like, for instance, if you found a really cool job that you really like working at, and it's a 9 to 5, and you're making 200,000, you could also set up the same portfolio that's got 100K plus coming in income in dividends. Why not have both? Now, if this thing is really annoying and you set up a passive income and it's growing, then yeah, you can obviously not have to work that 200,000 9 to 5 income. So it's not one or the other, because he's got an or here. And you can grow that $100,000 passive income too. It doesn't have to be just that. You can grow it over time. And that's the outcome that I'm trying to go for here. I'm trying to grow a dividend portfolio. I'm snowballing the dividends, which means I'm getting dividends and I'm reinvesting all those dividends back into investments. If in commodity companies, your dividends are not set. They grow with the commodity price. So if you're coming into strength of the commodity, let's say like a $50 a barrel oil when it was a couple years ago, let's say you get like a 5% dividend yield, and that's going to grow and grow and grow as the commodity price goes up, as long as the inputs of that producer don't go up as much. Then your dividend income starts to grow, along with snowballing those dividends back into more investments. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm working on, and that's what my goals are, is to really get resilient with a wide stream of passive income. Here are my 16 biggest life mistakes. He's 49 years old. He still feel young, but old enough to have real regrets. And I read through some of these. Um, let's go back. Look at my biggest life mistakes. I would say When I was growing up, I was a pretty big introvert, very introverted. Looking back into myself, here are the things that I didn't know that I wish I knew. Um, I needed someone to tell me, like, dude, you're smarter than what you think, because I thought a lot of people were very, very smart um, growing up. Like I thought, in the workplace that there's all these people who are just on top of things, very smart, figure things out very quickly. So when I was young, I was really reluctant to share anything. I was very timid. I was very shy, very introverted, and I didn't really want to say much. I was just listening to everyone else to form my opinions and stuff like that. And I did that for a while, and I was like, "You guys really know what they're doing?" Like, I don't know, like, but it's of no fault of my own though, because when I grew up, I went through high school, and the kids there were really smart. Like, these kids went on. I went through like the AP classes and honors classes. They all went on to like MIT, Notre Dame, big universities all over the place. Like they were pretty smart people. And I got accustomed to those people that were that smart. My brother's pretty smart. My friends were really smart. And it was like, this is just normal, I guess. So one of my mistakes was I should have had more confidence in what I knew and how smart I was as an individual when I was in my early 20s coming out of college. Another mistake is I didn't know how to sell myself because I was so quiet and all that stuff. Selling myself was not a top priority. I wish it was. That's one thing that I wish I had done better when I was younger. I was being able to sell the skill sets, being able to sell what I had to offer in terms of motivation, hard work, all that stuff. I didn't do a very good job of that, and I think I probably got paid way less than what I could have gotten if I could sell myself. Um, Other mistakes, I stayed too long at my workplace. I stayed there for 19 years. I worked at one aerospace company and then I switched to another aerospace company very early in my career. It was after 1 year. And I moved because of the cost of living, and I didn't really like the place that much. I went somewhere else. It was a better fit, but I didn't move up fast enough, I think. As an engineer, if you want to know a little bit about engineering, you get in and like a level one, a level two, a level three, a level four, they're all pretty similar. You do very similar projects, very similar things. There's not a huge difference between a level one, two, three, four. A level one, if you're just out of college, you're not going to know very much. Level two, level three, indiscriminate. You could have a really good level two provide way more value than a level three or even a level four, depending on the projects that they're working on and how efficient they are at solving those problems. And if you're one of those people, go somewhere else and get promoted. Like that's just 15, 20 grand right in your pocket per year. Go somewhere else. You're not getting the promotions. You're not moving up quickly. Leave and go if that's what you want. I stayed way too long in all of the jobs that I basically stayed in. And it's probably just because I got comfortable and I just was like, I don't really want to move. And the pay was all right. So, but if you want to make more money, you got to keep moving. Got to keep moving. Other mistakes, I don't mind having an engineering degree. I think helped me do a lot of things. And here's another thing: if you can do this, find someone who knows these markets inside and out. Find someone who knows these markets inside and out, who's really good. Learn from them. The faster you learn that, your returns will go up dramatically. Will go up dramatically. What's the right time to buy a certain asset? And in all honesty, guys, I mean, really what it is, at least the way that I view the markets, is the markets are subjecting humans to something like inflation. So if inflation goes way up, humans behave differently under an inflationary environment versus a disinflationary environment. And assets behave, they move. Money moves between assets differently in those different market conditions. That's all it is on a big, high level playing field. But if I could go back and I could teach myself in my early 20s what I know today, um, I would, how much money I have. Oh my goodness, it would be ridiculous, guys. Absolutely ridiculous if I could go back and teach myself, like, hey, look, I had all the motivation in the world to learn it. I was reading all of these things like Fidelity would come out and there'd be analysts that would come out with certain opinions. I'd read all that stuff. I was trying to figure out a way to basically figure out the markets of when assets work during what time frames. That's really what I was trying to figure out. And I went about it completely wrong. I was reading through like analyst things. I was looking at like, what did this analyst think about this? I was looking at like the fundamentals only, which I hate to say it, but fundamentals, they work in a certain period. And the bigger driver wasn't the fundamentals of the sector, it was the money coming in and out of these things. And I got really confused because I would listen to people on YouTube who I thought were, experts, and like none of their predictions would come out, and a lot of stuff didn't work the way it should have. And I'm trying to do this in my spare time too. I didn't have a ton of time to work on it, and I was very early in my 20s trying to figure this all out. And in mid 20s, I would work. I'd research it for a period of time, kind of get disinterested for a little bit, and then go back in. I'd get tired. So the mistake I had was, and I still don't know how I could solve it back then, is I needed to find someone who knew what the heck they were doing. And that was where I didn't know how to do that. You're not going to find it in a financial planner or anything like that. They just get taught kind of a generic thing through school. They don't actually teach you how to make a bunch of money in the markets. So I don't know if they understand the markets that well. So I didn't even know who to contact or who to talk to or who to learn from. And if I could do it, if I could go back and teach myself in my early 20s, they say, dude, this is how you got to look at it. You're looking at it all wrong. You're researching and wasting a bunch of time looking at the wrong stuff. This is how I would approach it. And then I would go into how to approach the markets with real estate market, all that stuff that I've basically figured out through all these years. And that's a huge one of the mistakes I made, but I don't know how I could fix it at that time. I didn't have anyone to really look. I didn't know who was good and who was bad. It was very difficult to figure out who to listen to, and it was a learning process through all that time for myself. So I just took matters into my own hands and figured it out myself. That's what I did. I didn't read other people's books. I mean, I went to a couple of technical analysis trainings when I was in my 20s, late 20s. Yeah, late 20s. Then I said, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. What I did. So, what do people spend too much money on? In my opinion, I think people spend too much money on useless crap. Here's a bunch of useless crap: Starbucks, coffee. Like, I don't drink anything but water. And if whatever you're drinking doesn't give you the nutrients, it's like let's say if is it good or bad for you? If it's bad for you, don't drink it. If it's good for you, then go ahead and drink it. But there isn't that much that you can drink that's good for you. So pop, alcohol, all that stuff goes away. It's all gone. So I think people spend too much money on liquid calories that do absolutely nothing for your nutritional health. I think it's a waste of money in my opinion. And it's okay if you guys disagree, no big deal. I also think people spend too much money on stuff that isn't going to bring them happiness, but they think it's going to bring them happiness. A very expensive car, if they don't have a lot of money, why are you spending money on a very expensive car? All cars do roughly the same thing, A to B transportation. And then the next question is, how reliable is it? And what are the costs to go from A to B? That's all I view kind of the world in, and your life doesn't get better if you have a slightly better car. Like, it just doesn't matter. So I probably fit the Dave Ramsey millionaire like thing to a T because I saved a lot of money. I maximized the difference between my income and my expenses. and then just saved the rest. Now, there isn't much here that you can do. There's like two things that you can, there's like three things that you can do. All right. Here's the three things. You can maximize your income, number one, minimize your expenses, number two. Those are two things to maximize the cash flow to put into investments. And then the third is to become really good at investing, to maximize your returns in your investments. Now here's another mistake that a lot of people have. You're not wired as a human being to make a lot of money naturally and to be a really good investor. It is you have to like unwire your brain to some degree. And what do I mean by like that? You're wired to go chase the shiny object. You're wired to see progress and you think that progress will continue. In investing, it's you'll see the price move up and you think that price will continue to move up. Think that momentum is going to give you more momentum. Um, in most people just want to blend in with the herd. To make lots of money, you can't blend in with the herd. You have to stand out. You have to be better. You have to do something. You have to be perceivably better than others. You don't actually have to be better. You have to perceivably be better. And that depends on what your manager or managers perceive of you and all that other stuff if you're in a big corporation. I mean, if you can work and do something where you start a business, you net all of the profit. That's a huge game changer if you can figure out how to figure out a problem that people don't want to deal with and it's scalable into something that um, people don't want to deal with. Jiffy Lube, people don't want to change their oil. Drive it on in and we'll change the oil for you. I mean, that's really half the businesses out there. Your car breaks down, I don't want to fix it. Drive it, we'll fix it for you. I mean, that's really what it is. It's just it's some service that you can provide, or there's a value that people are looking for that you can try to provide that service or value for them. So, what do people don't spend enough money on is really another question. I think it's self-development. And you don't have to spend money. A lot of it's just on your own, trying to develop yourself and get better at whatever it is. Moron of the day goes to Andrew Sorkin for thinking a store of value needs to stay the same price. Yeah, so price and value are not the same thing. Uh, the difference is value is purchasing power, and price is what gets destroyed or goes up. The value of the purchasing power of the dollar is where the store of value isn't. So a store of value is maintaining the same purchasing power over time. That's really what it is. This guy was talking about Colorado, and I know some people had asked me about, where should someone retire? He said, I found Colorado to be a hard place to live for someone accustomed to the East Coast, even harder than Dallas. Many people are surprised by this and only see the beauty. Well, I mean, I have never lived on the East Coast, but I've lived on the West Coast. Colorado it's volatile, but there's some really good things that it has, and I'll just cover it really quick. It's dry, which I like, but dryness also can get, you can crack the heels of your feet. You're not, I mean, you gotta keep applying lotion and other things, maybe even more aggressive than that. Um, we don't have flying bugs here because it's not wet, not much water. So it's basically an elevated desert. So there's no flying bugs really. Awesome. That is a huge plus. We are dry, so the summer is really easy to live in, and then the winter is dry, so the cold doesn't feel as cold. But we do get very big shifts in weather, extreme weather. It can snow in May, late May too. We're talking like 12 inches stuff. So it can snow in late May. It can snow in September, and it can be 60 degrees January or February. And it can also be minus 10 or 20 January as well. So we get these huge swings. which I did not see in California, and I did not see that in Minnesota. So Peter Krause says silver has remained very resilient even through most aggressive rate hiking cycles in decades. Moving sideways there. It says just don't be the point in fully combining all my finances when married. I just don't see the point in fully combining all. It says financial autonomy is very important to me. Bills and house stuff, sure. My spending is my business, and equally I'll respect him and how he spends his money. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Like some of these people, they care too much about like financial stuff. I mean, you want to be a saver with a saver, spender with a spender. Like I get that, but like, I money is like a means to an outcome, and as long as you're not trying to take advantage of the other person, I don't see why it matters necessarily. Um, there's big problems if he doesn't want to like. I don't know what like your money's your money, my money's my money. Like, what if you have kids and one person has to stay home? Like, what are you going to do then? I don't know. I'm not into that. Joseph Brown says if you want to find a bubble, look for euphoria and FOMO like Nvidia. You want to find a bull market, look for fear and desperation like the US housing market. Got that right. Let's see how this ends. So this is the market cap of all the S&P 500 energy sector versus Nvidia. And here's their net income. So Nvidia is at 1.7 trillion. Oh my gosh. And XLE is 1.5 trillion, 147 billion in net income, and this is 19 billion. This is not going to end well, guys, for Nvidia. Oil companies are going to smoke Nvidia at some point here. Only 5% of millionaires are under 40. Only 1% are 30 and younger. The average age of all millionaires is 62 years old. Don't forget this on your way to financial freedom. So only 5% of millionaires are under 40 years old. I hit that mark when I was under 40 as well. So I was part of the 5%, I guess. So, I mean, I would do exactly what I said earlier if you want to try to get there. Here's Steve. He says, I've given the same advice to agents and mortgage professionals for over 35 years. If the person or couple sitting in front of you is a generation younger than you, make believe they are your son or daughter. If the person or couple sitting in front of you is the same generation as you, make believe they are your brother or sister. And if the person couple sitting in front of you is a generation older than you, make believe that they are your mom or your dad. And give the same advice you would give your own family. That's exactly how I treat anything that I do in my life. I want the highest integrity and ethics in dealing with anyone who's asking me any sort of question um, of anything. Like I try to give them the most accurate information that I believe to be true, and I do that with my parents. And my parents, basically, I help them invest their money, and I do the same thing that I do with my account with their account. We're in the same stocks and playing the same game. Smart money is selling. They know what is coming. So the ratio of insider sales to buys, you can see there's a lot of selling going on, specifically in the tech sector. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and all those other ones. They're dumping shares, guys. This one says, warning: consumers are officially out of excess savings. Well, the spending boom fueled by big savings is over. That is excess savings. So I would think that that means that you've got something where you've built up a large stack of cash, and that is the percent change that you're adding to that stack of cash. But if you're going down into the stack of cash, that doesn't mean that you're out of excess savings. Um, Technically, that just means that you're not adding to savings, you're drawing from savings. Now the question is, how big are those savings? And if you look at like checkable deposits, the savings are just absolutely gigantic. So, and it really depends on what accounts you're talking about. I would assume that people who are well off have a lot of savings, and then people who are not well off probably are dipping into debt. So yeah, this isn't a great metric, but I also don't think this is a great metric because I don't like the word excess savings. I don't like excess. What does excess mean? I mean, everything I do, I just take all my savings and throw it in investments. I try to save as much as I possibly can. I'm looking for resiliency. So I don't have a huge savings account. Am I in this showing that I'm drawing down on my savings as I put it all in investments? I don't know. So that's what I've got there, guys. That's where I'm going to end it. I know it was more heavy on like wealth building and stuff and my experiences, which I don't know, kind of wanted to change it up a little bit. Um, but yeah, that's what I've got for today. Give me a thumb up if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you'd like. We've got a 5 p.m. question and answer session coming up this weekend. I did release the midweek update. If you guys missed that, it's posted up on the website and what my opinions are. And yeah, I mean that's what I've got for today. So we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.